Okay. So yeah, I've been looking into, on the back of Wayne announcing that they're going to look at virtual cards towards the end of this year, maybe start of next year. And the fact that we have got an interface to program cards that will go with virtual cards as well. And you can do it with physical cards. We are busy building what looks like a card issuing tool belt. So I decided to go and have a look what you can do with card issuing. I think card issuing is lagging card acquiring as a service, card acquiring being like accepting payments from as a merchant. So Stripe started with card acquiring and it's like doing really well now, and many other people are very focused on card acquiring. And I think it's like the Maya from the people better. Nick, just let me know if I break up and need to repeat anything. I can't hear you.
Sorry, Matt, you just broke up, but that's the last 2 to 3 seconds.
Oh, okay, so all I was saying is that card issuing is quite interesting because it's lagging card acquiring as a thing, and there's actually quite interesting use cases you can do with it. Card issuing being like giving someone a card to buy stuff with, card acquiring being taking money from someone via their card. Okay, but I'll get into that now. First of all, a quote. So it's a mistake to conceive of choice and decision-making as a process of selecting from existing options according to a fixed formula that omits the most important element of decision-making, namely the creation of new options, which I thought was really cool on the back of the Budgie presentation, because there's just like so much that was now made possible with what they've built. And this book, The Beginning of Infinity, is incredible and like actually life-changing. I think I would be surprised if it isn't life-changing if you read it. It's brilliant, and it goes from quantum physics all the way into like impact, like starting new infinities basically in your life by creating options that you never thought were possible before, which is a very exciting thing if your life is feeling mundane. Cool, so card payments authorization process. I wanted to start just by running through the stock standard. How do you get the money from the card? So that firstly, I did this for myself as a learning exercise, but thought maybe you might be interested. All right, so in this whole process, we have a card holder who gets a card from a bank, an issuing card holder bank who gives the card to the card holder, a merchant who can accept card payments from card holders, an acquiring merchant bank who accepts deposits from the card holder's issuing bank. And then, so you've got kind of the card holder team, the merchant team, and then you've got this third team, which is like the empire of the card associations who sit in the middle and happily tell everyone else what to do and take a nice little cut for doing so. And then the poor little payment processors who run around doing all the actual hard work in yellow there. But yeah, we love them because they make it all possible. So yeah, Visa and MasterCard basically set interchange rates and arbitrate between banks, and then these payment processors like do all the dirty work of actually making these transactions move between the systems. Sorry, I'm a little bit scarred. I worked at SnapScan for a while. So this is the loop. It takes about 8 steps to take money from someone who wants a coffee. So the first step is cardholder presents their card to a merchant in the hope of receiving some delicious goods. The merchant then sends the payment to the acquiring bank. The acquiring bank then passes that payment and card detail information along through the card network, mostly Visa and MasterCard in South Africa. Internationally, there's a few others. The card network then requests authorization from the cardholder's issuing bank. The cardholder's issuing bank then responds to the card network with approval or decline. This is the interesting part, because this is the part that we currently have access to thanks to Investec's programmable banking. And it's the only one of the few places in the world where you can get access to this at the moment. Having a look around though, things like people are getting onto this, and it's great to see other companies providing this as a service, because it validates that this is not just a random thing that is not actually as useful as we hoped. It's like, no, big companies are pumping lots of money into making this possible. So I always get happy when I see like other people doing what you're doing. I'm always a bit worried when you feel like the only one innovating in the space. Okay, going back to this, the merchant network then sends that approval or decline back to the merchant acquiring bank, who then passes that along to the merchant, and then the merchant releases the goods to our friend Pandolf, and Pandolf enjoys a coffee. So that loop, you may have seen it before. I would be surprised if you've ever seen it with a Pandolf. So I've at least added some novelty to it. Now I wanted to quickly take a little sneak peek of some corporate marketing.
So Ben, you're breaking up again.
Friends really do. Cool. Where were we?
The markets trends. So yeah.
So yeah, just to have a look at a few market leaders. Stripe, our friends who do things really well, and are not held back by decades of legacy, have built branded cards. So you can order branded cards for your business. You can issue cards to your employees or your organization. You can choose multiple shipping options. You can push cards straight into digital wallets, so you can enable digital wallets to spend. And they've got a flexible API to manage cards. And then the things that we have that they also have are real-time authorizations, dynamic spend controls, and enhanced transaction data. So that's like if we were to copy Stripe, that's what we would see on our wish list. Adyen, also another leading payment service provider. What we have that they have is setting card preferences using in-depth card controls, approving payment flows with intuitive authorization. What they've got, which we are looking at, is virtual cards. And an interesting one is sending funds to cards. So moving like the ability to spend into cards. You can currently kind of do that by decreasing or increasing limits and having funds behind the card. But I think there's a difference here in that you actually fund a card with money. And then they've got physical cards, which can be branded as well. And then very similar Marquita, which is a really awesome business that is very much focused on card issuing as a service, and a few other things. They also do card issuing. They do machine-to-machine transactions, so that enables you to kind of avoid the point of sale system, which is like very useful because generally point of sale is a big blocker to getting into offering things inside a business. And then they do just-in-time funding as well. So actually quite similar to what Adyen has, but just a little bit of different wording there. So that's a quick squiz at what the leading providers are doing. And then I think the more interesting part is what can be done with these, with card issuing. So this is a bit of a mix. This includes issuing virtual cards and also the programmable aspect of it. So you could do all of this with physical cards. It's a bit clunky in terms of like getting that out into the world because you have to actually ship a physical card. So one problem is that companies need to fund travelers. What I found interesting in this one is you get businesses that want to fund an employee to go on a business trip, but you actually also get travel agents where you pay the travel agent like 50K or 100K for your family to go on a trip. And then they actually want to give you a spending allowance that is locked to a specific travel platform, hotel, airline, or car service. And the benefits of this is that it limits the opportunities for fraudsters to steal your card details. So it's like a limited bucket of money. It also means they can automate receipts from the merchants, and they can enforce merchant loyalty. So for instance, if you spend at a hotel, they can pick it up and they can reward you with like cool stuff, basically. So yeah, that one's obvious. Another interesting one is that you get customers arriving at a point of sale either online or in the real world, and they can't pay for the purchase for whatever reason. Their card is blocked. They've actually run out of money, maybe. Trying to think of other things. but whatever. There's like, sometimes people can't pay when they reach the checkout, and that's annoying and frustrating. And they might be good for the money. It's actually very much in the merchant's interest at that point to just say, you know what, here's a loan, buy the stuff, pay us back later. We'll even make some interest from the loan. But issuing that loan at the point of sale is practically impossible. So what would be amazing with a virtual card at point of sale is you can generate a card, you can take the person's ID number, generates a loan for them, generates a virtual card, swipe that card or use that card at point of sale and actually give them the goods. And you can just basically create a loan account with them and collect the loan later. So that would prevent many loss of sales at point of sale when customers are unable to pay, obviously increasing revenue quite a lot. There's impact of purchases. I kind of went through this one earlier, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But the benefits of this is you could track purchases, generate a carbon footprint of those purchases, and therefore generate a profile of carbon footprint for an organization that is spending money. And you could also inform employees, did you know buying X from this merchant or buying paper instead of, you can get this in like a different format that would be much more beneficial to the environment, and you could kind of help environment, like help save the world. Let's just say it, put it like that. You also create proof points for corporates that are trying to show that they are being socially responsible in terms of their spend, which would be great for marketing campaigns. Next one is insurance claims payout. Pretty straightforward. Customer makes an insurance claim with an insurance company. The solution would be to give them a spend card, either virtual or physical, that is automatically issued. So I go on, I'm like, I'm claiming my insurance for this, and you could automatically send them a spend card. They could get the card, and they could go make purchases. And you could also do similar to the travel allowance, travel card. You could say, if you go buy this TV from this merchant, we'll give you like R1,000 cash back or R1,000 off, or we'll give you an extra like Wii or something, those Wii game things, if no one knows what Wii is. So this is a massive industry and a very straightforward use case. And it's actually quite an issue for insurance companies to figure out how to give people cash and money and get them to buy the thing that they're supposed to be buying to replace the thing that they said was stolen or lost. The next one is rewards for clients and employees. So giving a spend card allowance or a business card at specific merchants. So right now you kind of get a company card, and there's a lot of issues in businesses of people taking that company card and doing things that they shouldn't necessarily be doing with that. And it's very hard once someone said, oh, I took someone out for lunch, to say, well, that was a bad thing, because it's like, well, maybe that's a good thing. But there's very little control over whether deciding if it's good or bad. You basically say, like, employees, you decide, and here's like a long list of rules or something that you should apply. And then, you know, it gets kind of, there's no way that an employee can easily kind of go, I'm going to go do this, and then they can get approval from someone very quickly. Sorry, this is actually more specifically rewards though. So you could also incentivize, give employees a spend card, and you could say, get yourself a lunch every day. Now that everyone's working from home and you can't get lunch at work, you could say, go get yourself a lunch every day at this merchant, and you could do a deal with the merchant to get discounted rates, that kind of stuff. So you can drive healthy behavior for your business by both clients of your business and employees by giving them spend cards. The next one is an on-demand courier paying for collection. So say you order something from OfferZen or a courier service. The problem at the moment is you generally need to pay for those goods before collection. They won't generally pay for them. So what you could do is you could issue that courier with, like, say, SnapScan, a virtual card that they can put into SnapScan. It only works at the merchant where you've bought something from. They can arrive at the merchant, they can actually inspect the goods to say that it's all in order, that it's the right goods, and then they can pay for it using a mobile app or other mechanism. And they can lock it down to a time, a merchant, and an amount. One cart is doing this basically, and they've managed to massively reduce order theft. They've also managed to track purchasing and profit in real time. So they can go, oh, wow, there's customers in this area buying stuff that is making us like profit right now. Let's market that through our email channels or whatever to other customers, because it's like an opportunity. And then you can also enforce merchant benefits. So let's say you've got like a special price list with the merchant. You can block the transaction if it's at an unexpected amount, and you can say, look, I'm supposed to get a good deal on this, and you can enforce price benefits at merchants for on-demand couriers. And those are the use cases that I've put in the presentation. There are a few more out there, so I will share this presentation and you can have a look at them. I'd love it if anyone has some ideas to share or some feedback on that. Just seeing if there's anything in the chat.
Yeah, nothing in the chat at the moment, but some very cool ideas there, Ben.
Yeah, so Desmond said we have Tutuka in South Africa for card issuing. Also just by SaltPay, as far as I understand, which is quite interesting. But yeah, we definitely will probably be looking at Tutuka soon, or looking at talking to them to learn from them. I think that they've supplied the original route bank with their cards. But yeah, I think as a bank, you kind of have access to the direct controls, which is quite exciting if we can expose that to the community. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, I have some questions. So would your company or employer use card issuing? Can you imagine them using it? Let me pick someone. Desmond, where are you working at AppSan?
Yeah.
Do you guys get corporate cards?
No, in our division, no, we don't get a corporate cards.
No, they took away the corporate cards.
Yeah.
Why did they take away the corporate cards?
Maybe there wasn't a very much efficient way of managing those cards. And so
That's
no one
really
was
interesting.
offering a solution at that moment. So maybe hence they were removed. But out of my head, you know, in terms of issuing of virtual cards and payment and all of that, when you look at, if you were to think out of the box, when you look at the commuters in our cities who are using taxis every day, there's quite a lot of people who are using taxis out there, and payment is also a big issue. You know, if you stay, let's say, in the suburbs, if you are familiar with security guards, people who are working in those households, most of the time or very often they don't have money to go and get into a taxi. So they always ask you 10 Rand, 15 Rand. So I think the issuing of this virtual card could also come very handy if you could issue someone a virtual card that they could spend in a taxi or in a public transport. It doesn't have to be a specific taxi. It could also be a Gautrain, you know, or a bus or anything. Yeah, so I think there's a lot of daily huge number of people doing movement in terms of a public committee.
Yeah, I really like that idea. And I think another very interesting thing is like locking it down to a specific retailer. Because you can kind of do, if you want to issue money to someone, you can kind of say, I'll give you 100 Rand cash back if you spend this wisely, basically. If you don't go straight to the bottle store or something, or you go to like buy health food somewhere, or and so on. I know also like theft is a big problem in taxis, like people carrying cash around, or I've heard at least. So I think virtual cards can also really help with that.
Yeah, and also in terms of payments, I've seen one of the use case which let me also say at home, my father has been running a liquor store for a very long time. So most of the time you find that the SAB, they want to reward clients in those environments. But then the problem now is that most of the outlets, they don't have a point of sale system, but they want to reward the consumers. So these virtual cards that can be sent to the consumers via a WhatsApp or anything could say, here's a virtual card with a certain amount of cash that you can spend if you buy this particular product. That is a missing link, because at the moment what is happening is the sales rep will give a store owner, let's say, gift vouchers and say, for every customer who buys 6-pack or 12-pack, give them this product as a reward or as a gift, but they don't give them. They take them all, you know. So you end up not rewarding your own consumers, and you also don't, as a supplier or as a beer manufacturer, you don't have a data of who's consuming your products. Yeah, so I think these virtual cards could actually come very handy, because in the background you'll be collecting data and you see who's consuming a product, who's geographic, and what is the behavior.
Yeah, I think especially in the, I mean, you see with YCode and all those things, like to give someone money to go, a voucher to go spend at a store is like bloody hard. And then it's like, because you need to integrate with the point of sale. The point of sale needs to recognize this, that this is value that is legit. So you need to have software that actually integrates with the point of sale. So being able to issue value that in a way that doesn't need to integrate with the point of sale, that it works with the card machine, and you can control it, and you can give, that's like a game changer, I think. But it's, yes, Adam.
Sorry, this is a very interesting space, this. I mean, if you have virtual cards, you can connect them. I assume you could hook them up to SnapScan, right? Which would enable a whole other range of use cases. And the other thing that Desmond said that I think is very interesting is that if you're giving somebody a reward on a card, especially in this example, I mean, you're talking about an end consumer that you usually have no contact with. You can give them not only a reward in terms of, okay, here's $50, but you could give them a reward as if you use this card. If you keep reloading this card and using this card, you'll get a discount on our products. And then you can track those discounts, you can track that usage, but now you have actual tracking on the end user, which is extremely powerful. Not just when they use it in that first store, but wherever they use it, if they're using it to buy these products. So they'll have incentive to keep using this gift card, not just for the initial amount, but to keep loading it and using it again and again.
Yeah. One thing we were actually talking about over dinner last night was making bad purchases more expensive as you spend more on them. So it's like if you buy a box of cigarettes, and the next box of cigarettes is like a bit more expensive, or like it costs you extra ₹5 that goes towards cancer treatment or something, which is an interesting one. And it actually, what was funny was I came across this old presentation which we did at a hackathon about 4 years ago. We ran one route hackathon, and these guys actually on that day built a spend card where they could issue money to it, and they gave it to a homeless guy, and they told him, if you go shop, if you send us the receipts every time, because he had a cell phone, so it's like, send us the receipt. If you bought health food, like food, we'll give you an extra 10%, and if you bought like not food stuff, we'll give you less. Like, so they said, we'll give you R50 every day, we'll give you R55 the next day if you buy healthy stuff the day before, and we'll give you R45 the next day if you bought unhealthy stuff. And it was just like a little bit of a social experiment. The guy got like a month's worth of free stuff, and it was really interesting experiment. But you can create like really interesting behavior controlling mechanism. Sounds very Orwellian. So, but but I think
You can do it
a lot
with
of
your kids
people
as well, right? You
yeah,
can do it with your kids
exactly.
even.
Yeah.
Give it a
I
try,
think a lot of
Hobbs.
more people would invest in other people if they could like be sure that that money would go to a good cause as well. I think.
Yeah.
And it could really help kind of charity and social investing among the many other awesome use cases.